When it comes to assessing your students, this can take up valuable instruction time in your classroom. I cannot count the number of times where I had to give up an entire day to get assessments done for my students' math and reading. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you an amazing software that you may or may not have heard of that is going to help you assess your students' math and literacy so that you don't waste precious instruction time, and it is going to save you time in the long run so that you can focus on what your students need to focus on during your small group instruction. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Educational Rockstars. I'm Farah from Farah Henley Education, where I strive to bring you actionable tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life a little easier. If this is your first time joining me here on the channel, welcome. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you get notified when we go live or upload a new video here on the channel. Boy, do I have a treat for you tonight. Let me know if assessing your students in your classroom is a thorn in your side and you are tired of wasting precious instruction time so that you can assess your students. Now, if you're like me, you have probably given up entire days just to get assessments for reading in your classroom or assessments for math so that you could group your students and get them into the groups they need, know what they need to work on. Man, it's just a waste of time, but I have a super special guest that is going to be joining me here tonight and is going to share with you a software program and website that is going to completely change your teacher life. It is going to make things so much simpler because here at FHE we are all about keeping it stinking simple. So let me go ahead and without further ado, let me introduce Rochelle from ESGI. Welcome, Rochelle. How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about tonight because here at FHE, we are all about saving teachers time and making things simple. And man, ESGI does that. It keeps it stinking simple. And I have to, full disclosure, from the very beginning, say I never got to use ESGI in my classroom, and I could kick myself. It makes me want to go back to the classroom just so I can use it. But I have heard so many wonderful things about it. I dove into the program. I've taken a look around. I've played with it. I've put in some fake students and messed with things and been like, this is a game changer. And so if my audience has not seen ESGI, they don't know what it is or anything, would you do us a favor and kind of give us like who you are, first of all, at ESGI, and what is ESGI to begin with?
Sure, of course. ESGI stands for Education Software for Guiding Instruction. It is our mission to keep progress monitoring simple, just like you said. And we really want you to use the data to guide your instruction. I'm Rochelle Picorni. I'm the Product Marketing Manager at ESGI. And kind of a neat story about ESGI, how it got started and how I got to be part of it, is that the founder of ESGI was a kindergarten teacher. And we know we have a lot of kindergarten teachers out there listening. So imagine this kindergarten teacher was frustrated with not being able to get the kind of data he needed in his classroom. So he developed the program that you now know as ESGI. Now, back then, he was still in the classroom. He took programming classes at night. He tested out everything about ESGI with his partner teacher. Now, his partner teacher, you need to know, was a veteran teacher. So everything about ESGI is simple. He would go to her and say, what do you think about this? She would try it out, say, I don't know, I don't really understand it. He would fix it and make it even better. So now ESGI is worldwide on the internet at esgisoftware.com, and it is just taken off. Now, another neat part of that story is that I was the school site principal at that site where that kindergarten teacher started ESGI.
Okay, now wait a minute, Rochelle. You mean to tell me that you got to see it from the very first prototype and you got to see it become what it is now because one of your teachers developed this?
Absolutely. I am so excited and proud to be employee number 2 of this company and to really be able to see it grow from, remember when we used to install things on the computer with a little disk? That's how ESGI started. Now imagine when we went on the internet and you can now log in from any internet connected device. We are being used worldwide. And so, yes, I'm super proud to be still part of ESGI.
That is amazing. So, now ESGI is a program that is going to help teachers assess their students in math and literacy. Is that just math and literacy, or did I miss something there?
You can actually use any of our over 2,000 tests that you have in that we have
Wow.
in ESGI. You can use them as is, or you can modify them to meet your needs. Because as teachers, don't we like to do that? We like to take something somebody else has done and make it our own. Now, it's all content, all grade levels, all subject areas. So we have science tests. We have actually MTSS SEL tests because we know social emotional is super popular right now to assess students in that. Now we like to say, instead of assessment, we like to say progress monitoring, because with assessment you often think 3 times a year or something like that. Now, ESGI is really meant to be a progress monitoring tool. So teachers tell us when we survey them every year that they use ESGI every day. Now, not every student every day, but we all have students that we're concerned about. How neat would it be to sit down with that student one-on-one and get immediate results about how they're performing? So progress monitoring on an ongoing basis is what ESGI is all about.
So instead of, like you said, a teacher might only do this once every quarter. This is something a teacher could do every day, definitely every week. I know for myself, I was doing things that progress monitoring and things like that pretty much weekly. But this is something that if you had one of those students who you really needed to really hone down on, you could do this daily with your students. So there's no time frames where you're only doing data once a quarter.
That's correct. You can decide as a teacher what kind of data you need and when. So if you have a 3 times a year from your district mandated type of assessment, great. But you really want that weekly assessment. I did the same thing when I was in the classroom with my students. So yes, week, as often as you need.
Awesome, awesome. Now, you kind of gave a little bit of this when you did the intro as to what ESGI is, but what makes ESGI that premier tool that teachers should be using?
Ooh, I really think that it's the customization, the fact that you can make it your own. We are a platform that allows you to add any test that you want, modify any tests, and really just customize it to meet your needs. Now, districts do that as well. Some of our districts who purchase as a whole district, they will customize the tests to be ones that align to their curriculum. But teachers can do that as well. You do not have to buy ESGI at the district or school site level. Individual teachers can also buy ESGI and use it in their classroom. There's GoFundMe. There's a lot of grants that teachers write to get ESGI in the classroom or do kind of fundraisers to raise the yearly subscription.
Awesome. Okay, so you don't have to rely on your school to do it. If you're a teacher that you're like, my school may not care whether or not I have something easy to monitor my students' progress, but I care, I can do it on my own. I don't have to do it at a school level. That was one thing that when I went in to set my account up, so that I could play with it, it was asking me for a school district. And of course, I'm no longer in the classroom. So I'm not really attached to a school district. I use my business as a school district, but I was able to choose my district's not shown and I could still use it. So I really, really, really like that. And I appreciate that because there are some out there that they require you to be associated with a school district in order to use it. Now, I have. What grade levels specifically is ESGI geared towards? Because I noticed, and we talked about this a little bit backstage before we went live. I noticed that you have the ability to put students in all the way up through 12th grade. So when you enter your students' information, it'll ask you what grade level. And I was able to add a student for every grade level. I decided to play around with that because I thought maybe something happens if I do. So all of my children, all of my family are now students in my classroom.
There you go.
Grandchildren are in there as well. But what grade level specifically is ESGI really geared for?
Sure. As I mentioned, it was developed by a kindergarten teacher primarily for those primary grades. And those are the people who do the one-on-one assessment all the time. And we know back in the day, we used flashcards for that. And so this takes the place of all those flashcards. And I'll show you in a minute how easy it is
Yes.
to test a student one-on-one. But it really is pre-K through about second grade.
Okay.
Now, that being said, yes, you can add students in the 12th grade. If you have concerns about them and you want to assess them with certain skill tests, of course you can do that. So we have districts across the country that are using ESGI for the primary grades for all teachers, and then they may buy specialist accounts for those specialists who are working with students who are maybe in 5th grade but can't read yet. So really accommodates any grade level that you want. And because you can make your own tests, you can really just modify it to meet your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I could think, this kind of goes into kind of one of the things I was going to ask or the next question I was going to ask about, is this just for traditional classroom teachers? We have a huge growing homeschool part of our FHE family here that I just am absolutely falling in love with because I was a former homeschooling mom myself. And is this something that even homeschooling families could use to monitor their progress and use as that record keeping that they need to show? Some states require that you show that. Is this something that that homeschooling families could use?
Absolutely. I was thinking about that when you were mentioning how you can go in and you don't have to be necessarily associated with a school district. So when you sign up for an ESGI account, you can choose your district, and you also can choose private schools. You can choose charter schools and homeschools. So it really can accommodate any needs that we have. Now, just so you know, for the traditional teacher, we allow up to 35 students on a class list. And we hope nobody has more than 35 students that they are teaching in a classroom. But we also offer like a homeschool license as well. Now, that would be less students, because if you're homeschooling your student, right, you don't need 35 slots. And so therefore, perhaps you don't want to pay for a full account. So we do have additional licenses, which are specialized just for people who perhaps do homeschooling.
That's awesome. I like the fact that y'all aren't forgetting about the homeschool families, because those homeschooling moms are teachers too, and some of them were classroom
Absolutely.
teachers. And I
Yes.
know, man, when my students when my own children went back to traditional school, I spoiled their teachers because I figured out real quick exactly how hard and that was before I became a teacher. So, now, with regard to the assessments, you said you could make your own assessments. But one of the things I noticed some pretty familiar faces on there who had assessments that they're sharing. They maybe go with some of their programs that they have in their own businesses. One that stuck out was Greg from Kindergarten Smorgasbord. I know he has a system that he has that's ABC Boot Camp, and he has put assessments on there. Is it a marketplace, those assessments, or are those teachers just sharing those assessments with other teachers? How does that work?
Well, those teachers have partnered with ESGI for
Gotcha.
specialized assessments. And so, yes, we have vetted all the tests, proofread all the tests, edited all the tests. So not necessarily a marketplace. We specifically chosen those people for certain reasons. Excuse me.
No,
so,
you're fine.
The reason that those are chosen is because they fit in need, as you said. So ABC Bootcamp is super popular, and teachers were asking, could we please have tests for those? So we were partnering with certain individuals, and I'll show you that Test Explorer, and you can see all those pretty faces on there so that you can see how they're specialized in there. Now, that being said, you can share tests in your district. And
Okay.
so anybody who is a teacher in the classroom and wants to say, hey, Farah, I created some tests, you want to use them too, we can share back and forth. And the neat thing about that is you can create units 1 through 5, and I can do 6 through 11 or something, and then we can just share the assessment. So divide the work up. I love that. But I also love the fact, because I know teachers are going to go in there, they're going to see these familiar faces.
and we know the quality of their work. But I love the fact that y'all have vetted these and you have proofread them. So these are actually approved ESGI tests that you
Correct.
can use for progress monitoring. I absolutely love
Yes.
that. So you don't have to worry about just, anybody has thrown a test up there. I love the quality
Correct.
control that you guys have. Now,
Yes.
I guess the next question I have is, can you give us a demo as to how this is going to work? But before I do, actually, I have another question. Because we talked about this when we were trying to come up with some other questions. Talk to us. Lots of teachers started back to school this week, and teachers are going back to school in a couple next week, and then over the next month, teachers are going to be going back to school. And some don't know how they're going back to school. Some don't know how long they're going to be in person. How well does this work with remote learning if they end up in that situation again?
I hope we don't, but
Right.
yes, we found that ESGI works seamlessly, whether in the classroom or at home. And the way it might work at home, let's say you are still in the classroom, but one of your kiddos is quarantined at home. You still need to do progress monitoring for that student. So you would use your district video conferencing software, could be Zoom, Google Meets, whatever you're using. You would do a face-to-face call with that student. You could either show your screen and assess them while they're answering out loud, which is how you would do it in the classroom, but just on the screen with video conferencing. Or we have one other thing that's called Student Screen. Now, Student Screen links to devices. So I could be on my laptop. If you had an iPad at home, I could send you a code and a website. You would go to it, and then on your screen, you actually see the assessment item just on your own screen. Now, of course, we video conference because the child's answering out loud, and you want to make sure that the child's answering correctly so you can mark it, but the child can link to devices. So my colleague was in Arizona, I'm in California. I could send him the code. He could see on his iPad the item that I was testing him on. So
That
yes,
is
it
so
works
cool.
beautifully.
So now, is this iPad only, or is it Android devices as well?
It's any internet connected device.
Love that. So they could do it on
It's
mom and
just
dad's
iPad's
phone.
most popular.
Right, right.
That's
But
right.
they
They
could do it on mom and
absolutely
dad's
could.
phone if they needed to. I love that. Now, this is a question I didn't think to ask, but are the tests where the student is entering their answer, or is the teacher entering the answer? Like what the student
It's always
says.
teacher led. It's always teacher led.
I
Students
love
are
that.
not touching the device in order to answer the questions. So the teacher still is in control whether the child actually answered correctly or not. We also have a notes section. So if you think that that kid maybe guessed, you could write that down in there, or you could put any kind of notes as we would do in the classroom with paper and pencil. You can do that in ESGI.
Yeah, and I love that, because and we did talk about that when we were doing our prep for today. We talked about the fact that there are some other programs out there that do progress monitoring, and they do some adjusting and stuff like that. But one of the things that myself and several teachers that I talked to in prep for this interview tonight was that they don't like the fact that there's no teacher input on those, and they really don't know that they will get a report. And I know you're going to show us those reports here in a moment. They will get a report from this whatever program that the school has decided to use, and it will say that their students are on a certain reading level, and they as a teacher know for a fact their student is not on that reading level. And the reason they managed to get that in the report is because their students were probably guessing. And I love the fact that with ESGI, the teacher is the one actually entering it. So if I have a student in front of me and I show them, just for to be simple, if I show them the word "the" and they say "the," and even though they got it right, they really know it? I can know as a teacher, they really guessed. They were still looking to me for confirmation, as opposed to yes, they knew it. And I love that teachers are able to actually make a note of that, or mark it yes or no, they didn't know it, and so forth. So I love that it's still very much teacher led. So I'm going to hop off of here. I'm going to share your screen, or you're going to share your screen. You are going to give all of the viewers a demo and kind of show them around. So let's go ahead and jump into that. I'm just going to be back here, and if you have any questions for me, and be sure, again, in the comments, ask Rochelle questions, because if you have not used ESGI and you're wondering if it could be used for something specific in your classroom, she's here. I've got her, captive audience here. She's not going anywhere, and she's been gracious enough to answer some questions. So, all right, without further ado, let's let Rochelle show us some things in ESGI.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, I'm going to make it super quick. This is how we would catch you at a conference when we're live at a kindergarten conference. For instance, you would come to our booth. We would give you this demo in less than 5 minutes. So here we go. First, what you're going to do is you're going to log into esgisoftware.com. You're going to add all your students either by clicking this plus button, or if your district decides, you actually can link to your student information system through Clever or ClassLink. I know those are going to be hot words for some of you because Clever and ClassLink are very popular for student information systems. So if your district does that, your class list will already be pre-populated for you. But it's super easy to add students. You just click this plus button and you add some information. Now I have a new student right here on my roster, and it's time to test. Oh, here's the module that shows you it's very easy to add first and last name, pick the grade level, choose the preferred language. And the reason we take preferred language is we have templates for Spanish, English, or you can add your own language if you would like to have parent letters go home in the home language. Now that I have my new student, I am either going to sit side by side with them, both looking at the same screen in the classroom, or use that student screen to link devices, and the child can hold that tablet and stand at a safe distance from me so that we can do the assessment together. Now I'm going to choose one of over 2,000 tests that we have in ESGI. This happens to be the KELA tab that I'm looking at, and these are sample tests that ESGI gives you if you're a kindergarten teacher. We also have some sample math tests as well. But let's stick to the KELA and test this student on uppercase letters. So what you're seeing on the screen is what the student would see, the big letter R. If we were linking two devices, they would just see the letter R on the screen. They would not see the yes and no buttons at the bottom. When you hear the child answer the prompt, what letter is this? If that student answers correctly, you're going to click the yes or the no if they answer incorrectly. And look at Farah, how fast I'm going through this. I'm just clicking whether the student answers yes or no, similar to how we would use flashcards in the classroom.
Wow, I'm loving how fast you're going through that.
Now here's the notes section. So like if you said he guessed, you could say he got it right, but he guessed. You could say self-corrected. You could say any number of things here, even putting the incorrect answer that perhaps you might have said. We have a skip button in case you need to skip any item. Perhaps you haven't taught that yet. And you can actually close it any time because we know that there's a lot of interruptions in the classroom. So if you close it here, it will just score the ones that were given. Now at this point, it updates a pie chart for the student to see on his or her screen. We also have, if you don't want to show the pie chart, because a lot of students get distracted by how they're doing. So we also have an alternative where it just shows a ladder and a really cute graphic, and the student will see that, knowing that the test is ended. And then here on the home screen, you actually see the score and the last test date. That's how easy it is to test a student. Choose a student, choose a test, and then you can run reports. Now, our most popular report is that parent letter. That parent letter, as I mentioned, can be in the home language of the parent, showing what the child got correct and incorrect. These are all the items that he got correct on that uppercase letters test, and this is the incorrect. This is the template at the top. It actually is personalized for the student. It has the student's name in there. Now, I've called my student new student, so it will say new student in there. But if his name was James, it would show James here at the top, and it would show his name in the letter as well. Now, notice it shows my name already here and here. Now, as a school site principal, I loved the fact that my parents were receiving professional looking letters from the teacher. And the teachers were very happy to send home letters that look like this. All of our letters can be downloaded, and currently you can download them and send them home via email if you'd like, or print them in the classroom. Now, to go along with it, how about flashcards? These are just the ones that this child missed. It has the child's name on it, it has the date on it, and it has all the ones that he needs to practice. Again, you can send it home via email. The parents can cut it out, print it and cut it out, and practice at home. Now, teachers love this because it actually has a student's name on it. And imagine if these all fall out of the backpack on the floor and you need to sort them out. Here you go. You've got each child's name on it.
I am loving this because, again, like I said, I'm all about saving teachers time. And if teachers don't have to like recreate all of this stuff, they immediately are like, my student needs to work on these letters or these sight words or whatever it is that you're testing, facts, whatever. The program is going to give you the flashcards or the review pieces to send home with them to review this. I love that. And I love the letters because I'm with you, professional letters. We have some very non-techie teachers. And after this past year, they got, thrown to the fire with technology, but some teachers still struggle just to send an email sometimes and it not look like a one-liner, and they're still trying to figure out how to put their signature into an email. I get it. I understand. But I love that this is very quick, very easy. It's downloaded, attach it, send it. It's a professional letter. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to jump back over so you can finish with your demo, and then I've got some more questions for you. You know I do.
Of course. No problem whatsoever. If it only did those two things, test students, run a parent letter and flashcards, I guess that's three things, you really, really would think, wow, okay, that's a time saver, right? And we say that ESGI saves teachers over 400 hours a year in the progress monitoring process. However, of course, it does way more than that. And we've talked about all the tests, which I'll show you in just a second. But I want to show you that we have many reports, and I'm not going to go through every report today, but I just want to show you some of our favorites. As a staff, we love the item analysis. And the reason we love it so much is because at conferences, we quiz teachers and we say, do you know your least known letter in your class right now? And a lot of them will say, that would be really hard to get that information. Well, with the item analysis graph in ESGI, look at how neat this is. It is showing my uppercase letters. It shows bar graphs, which I don't know if you can see, but it's all the letters of the alphabet down here. But it's showing from least known to most known. Now, we all know that kids know X because X marks the spot in cartoons. So all the kids here know X. However, we're lacking on N, G, and D as a whole class. So this teacher's probably going to post N, G, and D around the classroom so all kids see it. And then how neat is this? It's interactive. Click on a bar and you get a whole list of the kids who know letter N here, the ones who don't know letter N here, and then some that are not even tested yet down here. So imagine if you're doing small group instruction on the letter N, you're going to put these 4 children close on the carpet. You're going to do extra work with them for the letter N. So you can print this out if you are lucky enough to have an assistant in your classroom. Perhaps he or she can work with these students on the letter N. Now also you can print this all out as an Excel spreadsheet. If you download it here, you get each one of these graphs as a column in an Excel spreadsheet, and then you have your whole class lined up to be able to make groups to differentiate instruction.
Okay, so one of the things that just, I'm having that moment. You told me about some moments when some of the teachers were standing at the booth and they're like, wait a minute, I've used this program and I'm having aha moments. So immediately my aha moment was, I'm looking at that item analysis. That's what you called it, right?
That's what it is.
And
yes.
I'm looking at it going, okay, as a teacher, I can see that my least known letters are N, G, and D. Guess what words my students are probably going to have a hard time reading? They're going to have a hard time reading those ending blends of ND. They're going to have a hard time reading those words that end in ING because they are having trouble recognizing those letters. And I love that I can see that and immediately nip that in the butt before it actually gets to the point where they're having to read those words with those letters in them. Now I realize that we're looking at letter recognition, which is a kindergarten, probably maybe beginning first grade skill. But does this get into things like grammar and things like that, where because you're getting into second grade, so getting into homophones, getting into spelling, so are we looking at skills like that as well?
Sure, let's go to that test
Okay.
explorer. You can see that we have 2,000 tests. Now, you're not going to want to look at all 2,000 tests because they might not apply to you, but there's lots of filters that you can apply here on the left-hand side. You can choose grade level. You can choose content area. Notice there's our SEL test we talked about before, math, language arts, science, etc. We have noted series. Now in ESGI, we have some specialized tests that are state aligned perhaps, and we've got the TEKS down here for Texas. We've got a lot of different New York tests, Florida tests, but if you're interested in those because you're in one of those states, go ahead and click on a noted series. Also, our noted authors. Now there's those pictures you were talking about right across here, and if you scroll you'll see even more. There's Dr. Jean. Don't we all love Dr. Jean's videos? But if you're interested in some of these, this one is Cite Words in Context. So, you're talking about higher level. Cite words are great, but cite words in context is even a harder skill. So if you're interested in that, you can just click on a person's name and it will put all of the tests that partner, we call them, have created. Now again, these are ESGI tests, but authored by Brenda Tejeda in this case. And so these are all the fry words in tests. Now each one of these is a separate test that you can add to your account. There are 8 results in this series, but there's plenty of other series to choose from here. So what you would do at this point is you would preview a test. Now when you preview a test, it gives you a test intro screen to tell you a little bit about the test. And then in this case, it's read the sentence. So you can see this is a higher level skill here. You walk through the test, and then if you decide you like this test and you want to use it as is, straight from Brenda Tejeda, you would add it to your account like this for free. Let's put that in second grade. That looks like we need in second grade.
And so a teacher, when they're giving this test and the sentence is I am number one, let's say that the sight word is number, that's the sight word, number, and the student reads I am number one, even if they tripped up over one of the other words, if they said the word number, the teacher would be able to mark that sight word as known and move on to the next. So I like that. It's because I like it in context. I like
In
that. That's,
context. So a little bit higher level. So when you're
yeah.
talking about can it be used at higher levels? Absolutely, it can. And if we come over here and we pick, like let's say second grade, you can see some of the skills that are for second grade. As a matter of fact, we have 486 tests labeled second grade. Now, because we labeled them second grade, doesn't necessarily mean if you had advanced first graders and you need to use them, you can. And so just know that. You can also modify any test that you see in ESGI simply by clicking on its name and making a copy. So this is where I was talking about being able to make a copy of this test, rename it whatever you'd like, and then you get to remove questions, add questions, move them around, whatever you want to do. Do that with all 2,000 tests we have in ESGI.
Wow.
Now, if you want to start from scratch, of course you can. We have create a new test over here and auto test creator right there.
Wow. I love the fact that you can take and modify a test if you need to add accommodations or you need to add. I love
Yes.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I run we're having a little trouble with our video right now, but we'll come back. We'll hope it works itself out here in a minute. We got some storms going on here in my area. But I run a membership for teachers, for K-5 teachers, for small group instruction and specifically on math and literacy centers, how to effectively use their math and literacy centers. And one of the things that is coming up right now, and all the teachers are asking me, they're going back to school and they're like, okay, how do I group my students? How is this going to help them group their students and easily and keep their groups fluid so they can move their students in and out of those groups? Do we need to go back to the screen share?
Sure, there's a yes. As a matter of fact, I'm a visual person. I have to show it. Now, remember that item analysis we were talking about. There's many other reports too where you can sort your students to figure out perhaps which is your most proficient student in a certain area. And let me show you what I mean by that. This is a class totals report. And what you're going to be looking at is an end of the year report with each one of my marking periods showing. But let's just look at our current marking period. So I'm doing report cards. I just want to see who's the top of my class. Well, what I could do is I could see that they're in alphabetical order now on my class list. But if I click this average percent correct, watch my kids on the class list. They're going to resort. And my Sarah Jane is the top student in the class because she has 100%. So if I'm making some groups based on data, I am definitely going to put Sarah Jane, Caleb, Maggie, Elijah, Ja'Cory, Jamal in a group and keep going down the list based on data. So there's my small groups right there based on the average percent correct. But what I could also do is I can just do it by uppercase letters. I can take any of these columns and sort my students to see who's my most proficient. Still Sarah Jane, but I can have Sarah Jane, Emma, Braylon, Caleb, because in uppercase letters, they all have 26. See? So sorting is easy in ESGI, either with the class totals report or with that item analysis like we saw before, with those small groups of students who need particular help. Then what are you going to do? Well, you're going to come over here to ESGI. You're going to click this little plus button next to groups because now you're going to have in your mind, okay, I'm going to group together this group of kids. So now you're going to make a group. How about the sunshine group? I wish it was sunny here today. It's always sunny in Southern California, but today it's raining. So here's my sunshine group. I am going to take these students and put them in my sunshine group. Now, maybe my sunshine group gets seen by a reading specialist who comes in and does work with these particular children. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And when that specialist comes in, he or she could click on the sunshine group. Now, notice what happens to my class list. Only those kids show up, and only those kids show up on the pie chart, their data. So you could see here, this is only 5 students on this pie chart here. And where we saw that class totals report, now look at it. It's the group totals report. So that specialist could click that, get these students on a report, print it out, download it to Excel, send it to themselves via email, and get all this data about their own group. Now, students can be under more than one group at a time. In fact, you can make unlimited groups in ESGI. So you can have science groups, math groups, language groups, any kind of groups that you want. And it's super flexible too, because we know that we want flexible groups. Move students in and out as much as you'd like.
Oh, that is going to save teachers so much time, Rochelle, so much time. Now, with regard to as they move into grades of beyond, like I said, I know you said kinder, first, second grade is your sweet spot. Can we do running records? Can we do running records on ESGI? We can. And of course, math assessments, because if you can create it, you can assess on it. That's what I'm hearing from you.
That's true. It's still a yes-no format. And so with reading levels, for instance, you could make a single score test. Now, a single score test is, we're kind of thinking of it as a rubric. So let's say your reading levels are a 1 through 10.
Okay.
You would assess the student reading, and then you would simply enter the score or the reading level that the student reached. If it was 8, it's 8 out of 10. and then you just enter that in ESGI. So it's called a single score. I demonstrated to you what a yes/no test looked like. However, a single score just is one, just like it says, you enter one score. It's really good for observation. So if I'm doing STEM groups and I'm walking around with my iPad, I'm watching children do some kind of an activity, then I just enter the score in based on their performance right then and there. So that works for our SEL tests. That's how those operate. You can observe a child doing a particular social emotional skill, such as patience, and then you can give them a 4, 3, 2, or 1, which is how our single score works. So yes, reading levels can be done, not necessarily the marking of a running record, but you can put notes in. So just know that we have 2 different types of tests currently, the yes, no, and the single score.
Awesome. Well, sorry, I was trying to see if we could get your video a little clearer there. Now I heard you say, and I've heard you say it a couple of times, how many hours did you say this is saving teachers in the classroom?
400 hours a year. And some teachers tell us that that's a low estimate, actually. When you think about how many times you test a student and how many tests that is, and then how much time you use to collect the data, report the data. Maybe you report it to your administration on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Maybe you have grade level meetings and you got to pull all this data together and go to a grade level meeting. And the parent component too. Think about how much time that takes in the whole process. ESGI can save you a ton of time.
Wow. Listen, I'm all about saving time. I'm all about not having to take tests home, give a test, and then having to take it home and grade it. I just got through doing last week. We talked about hacks and tips for teachers to cut down on the amount of grading they're doing. And I told them last week this was coming because this goes right along with that to help save them time. So they're not lugging all those papers home. And I can't tell you the number of assessments and progress monitoring, whatever you want to call them, that I lugged homes because I had to go through them. And I like the fact that this seems like it's really super user friendly. If I have a paraprofessional, if I have a volunteer that's going to come through and I just need them to go through and answer yes or no if the student knows it. This seems like it's super simple for them to do. I love this. It will work with remote learning. So we don't know what this coming school year is going to look like until we get through the end of the school year. So it will work regardless. And I love that. So Rochelle, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you would like to share with my audience about ESGI before I go to that final question?
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally have experience with what you're saying, leaving that data binder at the school, forgetting about it over the weekend and thinking, how am I going to get my report cards done? And going there and trying to get the custodian to open up so I can get it. Now imagine with ESGI, you're at Starbucks, you just pull up your phone, you've got all your data right there, and you can do your report cards while sitting at Starbucks. So yes, any internet connected device can run ESGI, and you can do your progress monitoring really anywhere, or grading anywhere. Now, ESGI also allows you to convert your raw score, like you saw before, 24 out of 26 uppercase letters, into your report card grade. So just know that, and that will appear on a lot of reports like this student detail report, for instance. The parent can actually see a color-coded grade assigned by your district, and it can be any grade scale, A, B, C, D, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just know that you can do that. So much customization. And imagine this too. This is one student's data all on one page. This came about because teachers said, can we have a one pager, please? We need to walk into a student data meeting and we need it all on one page. And so we've configured so everything can fit on one page, including this history graph right here, which is each and every time the child was assessed. So when you're trying to track for RTI purposes, there you go. You've got a graph just for you. So yes, so many things. We encourage you to try out ESGI. We give you a free trial, and we're going to show you that at the very end, how you can start using ESGI right now in your classroom for 60 days for free.
If one of my listeners or one of my family here at FHE wants to get started and try ESGI out, where would they get started?
Of course, I will be happy to show you that. First, you're going to visit esgisoftware.com and sign up for that free 60-day trial. It is no obligation whatsoever and no credit card required. Please use the code FARA. We want to know where you came from, so please let us know by putting that in the promo code box. And then try it out. Put some kids in there. Put your grandkids in there, like Farah did, and put anybody's name in there. If you don't have a class yet, if you are a homeschool teacher, please put your students in there, give it a try, and let us know what you think about it. We're always eager to hear how people love ESGI.
Thank you so much, Rochelle, for first of all giving them that code so that they could go try that out for 60 days. I'm super excited about it. I want to encourage each of you to go try this out and get your students in there, because let's face it, anything that will save you time is worth gold in my book, because we are so overwhelmed as teachers.
Yes.
We need things that are going to save us time. But before I let you go, Rochelle, if my audience wants to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
Sure. It's so easy because my name is my email address, Rochelle, ROCHELLE, at ESGIsoftware.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, Rochelle, thank you so much for joining me tonight for our live chat. If you will hang around for just a moment backstage, I'm going to wrap this up with everybody, and I will be back in backstage here in just a moment, and we can wrap things up. But thank you again, Rochelle, so much for joining us and giving us that code.
It is my pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will talk to you soon, and I'll see you in just a minute, Rochelle. Now, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life easier, check out the videos on your screen. Thanks for watching, and keep being an educational rock star.